Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Build a Theatre, a podcast charting the creation of a new theatre in Brussels by looking at the wider theatre industry. My name is Edward Macmillan.
And my name is Phil Wilcox, and I'm slightly concerned about how you said the word another, Ed. We're not...
Another!
There are some podcasts who've been running for hundreds of episodes, and we've done what? I don't actually, how many episodes have we done now? What episode is it? Anyway, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Yes, it's been a month of highs and lows, as we've just discussed off air, but on air. Highs and lows. The highs being
Let's have a sandwich. Let's do high, low, high.
lovely. I'm not sure I've got two highs, but I will try. I'll try and find one. No. Our highs are that our workshops are really up and running, and we've got some fabulous things going. We've also planned some new workshop ideas for the next term, so the spring term, April to June kind of time. So yeah, and they're all really lovely. You know, I'm really enjoying inspiring people through the arts. Basically, it's really, really nice. And we are managing to find different locations to do these workshops in, so that's also enabling us to do more, essentially. So that's very, very nice. I think on the low, unfortunately, this warehouse space that we had been working towards didn't work out in the end. It's a whole process and a whole big story, but the key point to know was basically it was the fire safety aspect that made it financially impossible for us to do. It would have just been way too expensive, way too much investment in a property that we were renting as well. It wasn't even being ours, which is a shame because the actual building itself was really nice and well suited for a theatre, and the public authorities were very interested, and yeah, we could have done a lot there, but you know, you live and you learn, right? You live and you learn, and so we've had two near misses, and I'm really hoping that number 3 will be the magic number. And then the high, yes, the high is that yes, we have now announced our next production, Lungs by Duncan Macmillan. Which is in process of creation now, if you will.
No relation, I assume.
No relation, although a lot of people, yes, have already asked me. I am a Mook, and he is a Mac.
A Mac.
Big difference,
yes.
Phil. Big difference.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Different clans, no doubt.
So Duncan Macmillan, and it's kind of a play. It's a 2-person play, and it's about sustainability issues in respect of how do we as humans or as a couple live responsibly in the age of climate change.
Okay, Ed, brilliant. I think it's probably time that we introduced our guest.
Yes, I think you're right. So our guest this month is a lovely gentleman called Sam Huys, and he is the project coordinator of an organisation called Limbo, which is based here in Brussels. So welcome to the show, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks very much for coming, Sam. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So many of our conversations not to preempt what Limbo is about, but so many of our conversations end up being about sustainability in theatre, and we're going a little bit away from sort of around the peripherals of the world of theatre today, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Just to get us all warmed up and limbered up, I've got a few quickfire questions. Is that okay? They're all quite straightforward.
Yeah, sure, hit me.
Fantastic. Here we go. All right. So the first one I would start with is, are you a late night or an early morning person?
Clearly late night.
We won't go into last night. Do you have a favourite season, favourite time of the year?
I would say spring. It's the only season where people really start to notice the change, like the first flower buds, then so it's really this promise of something better coming.
If you had a superpower, what do you think? What would it be?
What it would be, or what I would like?
Either.
I think understanding every language would be a nice one, and like also with this understanding culturally what people want to say and what they mean. yeah, that's something I would really like to just understand everyone. Yeah.
Along with that, that's really interesting. You say that. Along with that understanding, would you also have to be able to speak the language as well, or would it be just okay to understand?
I would already be very glad with understanding, and I think to express myself with hands and feet, as long as you understand the other person, I think it's the basics to try to understand others.
Okay, two more questions then for you. Work or play, or are they both the same, interchangeable?
Leisure, clearly.
Leisure time. Finally, it's maybe slightly challenging. Maybe this isn't quite so much of a quick fire question. Do you know how you learn, how you best learn things? Are you a doer, a thinker, a repeater? How do you best learn something?
Seeing someone doing it, so that's for physical things, observing people, and for knowledge more, it's like repetition, a lot, like copying stuff over and over, rewriting, rereading, rewriting, re-listening. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, congratulations, Sam. Thank you very much. You've passed the quick fire questions.
I find it extremely fascinating that your superpower would be understanding different people, and I think that's a really nice little link to ask you, who are you, and what is this in limbo that we have just mentioned? I wonder if you could just give us a little taster of that.
Yeah. So I'm from Brussels. From Brussels, bilingual from Brussels, so it means Dutch and French. I've been born in Brussels, lived in Brussels all my life. I've always been busy visiting stuff, enjoying cultural life in Brussels. I know a lot of places in Brussels, and also maybe interesting also beyond the language barrier, because Brussels is like different communities, and I always hopped between those communities as a bilingual in Brussels. So I know Brussels very well. I used to be a tour guide at a certain point. And then I studied politics to try to understand what society is about. I ended up doing a project with some friends. We started a museum, the Museum of Capitalism, still going on. Worked for there for some years, and then my passion for building and logistics started to emerge, and then there was a job offer for to this in limbo project, and I already knew it, and I applied, and now I'm here. And so in limbo is a project that started in 2018. It's a project that was conceived by La Monnaie, the opera house from Brussels, Rotor, which is like think tank, a shop about reusing materials in Brussels, and also Zinneke. Zinneke is a non-profit organization that organizes like carnival in Brussels, but it's a typical Brussels carnival. That's main goal is to use reclaimed materials. And Toestand is the fourth partner that's created in Limbo, which is an organization that uses buildings that are not used for activating them. So in the past, Toestand has big empty hangars or open public spaces, and they try to involve people to use these spaces. So those four partners came together and looked at how can we be more renewable, how can we waste less materials within the cultural Brussels sector. And they had this idea like, yeah, actually we see that a lot of materials that are created, um, this waste that is created is still reusable, but for someone else. So how can we create this flow from people generating waste by doing art and culture, which is we see a lot of opera houses like the La Monnaie or even Ancien Belgique. They create waste. It can be flight cases that are slightly damaged, or curtains that are that have holes in them. They need some new materials, but these materials are still very useful within the sector. Why not try to support small organizations? So there came this idea to create a structure, a collaboration within Brussels of let's all work together, let's try to manage our waste better. And that's what in Limbo is about. So in Limbo is really this idea of let's collaborate, let's better use materials, and also do it in a social way. It's not about making profit. It's let's stimulate Brussels art scene, schools, people who need materials for creativity, and let's not just throw it away.
Amazing. So it started with a couple of theatrical organisations involved. Is it only for the world of theatre, or is it anybody?
So it's not only theater. At the start, you have the Opera House, which is like a producer of waste, let's say. Then you have Zinneke, this non-profit that's about reclaiming. So already you see a combination of two different actors working together. Then you have the structural approach from this Rotor, which have this knowledge on what can you reclaim, how to reclaim, what does society need because reclaim is a whole. It's not so easy just to say, yeah, let's reclaim it. No, it's a whole process. And Toestand had the spaces. And so already Toestand is not theater. So we see our partners are very diverse within the in Limbo network. Now we have 530 members. If I checked last week, these are all kinds of associations. We have some big houses like La Monnaie, Flagey, you have AB, Marny. These are big organizations, but we also have very small underground organizations. We don't limit the partners on having an official organization. Also, some collectives can join in Limbo. For example, a squad that has no legal how do you say status can apply for in Limbo if they come with us and they present their project, and it's an open project that promotes culture. Then they can also use what we provide as in Limbo.
Amazing. And how far is your scope? How far are you based?
Yeah, actually, we get a lot of requests from all over Belgium, but we try to really limit to Brussels. We would urge people to create their own in Limbo style platform locally, and we see more and more these kind of things emerging now. In Tournai, something Recuperatex started. You also have the network of the Recuperatex within universities, art universities, art schools, starting to emerge. But we try to, each of us tries to build a concept and see what works. We learn from each other. But it would be strange to reclaim materials and then do 100 kilometers to reclaim something. No, let's try to do it locally. And what I also like is if you look through history, how people made art, they went to get their materials locally. Now you can just buy whatever you want from around the world. So if you limit yourself to what's available locally, you create also some local art. And that's what I like, to have this collaboration within partners that live in the same streets, as a matter of speaking. So I don't know. Yeah, the local waste in Brussels, we have some paper waste companies. Yeah, let's use this. Maybe in Ghent they will have more like a glass factory. Yeah, it would be cool that we see that the art that's made in Ghent would be glass based, and the art in Brussels would be the surplus of paper would be used, for example. Yeah, that's cool. Also to stimulate people to work with what they have available.
think what's really fascinating about in Limbo is it's almost like a perfect coalition of partners who came together at that particular time. And I haven't seen in the UK, I don't know, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anything like it there. I know there have been attempts to set something up, but I don't know of anything.
Not that I know of. There is one particular project, English-speaking country in the US, that's also really cool. That's Materials for the Arts. It's in Brooklyn, New York. But this is organized by the state, by the government. It's like 20 people working there. It's huge. It's look it up, Materials for the Arts, and their scope is really art. So it's to stimulate the art making process. If you look at what the materials are we reclaim, it's a little bit different. We try to have more also a scope on the social part of reclaiming materials and what organizations need. So we might reclaim old toilets, showers, also because we see that's what people need. Kitchens, if it's for a food kitchen, for a solidarity kitchen, yeah, it's not about this art. We want to stimulate also the social organizations. So we're not only for the arts; it's also just social organizations, what they need. And then there's the question: what do we reclaim? Yeah, that's a difficult one because um, it's we try to always ask our members, what are you doing, what's going on in your organization, to know what their material needs might be. And then we get a lot of requests also from people who want to donate or get rid of stuff. So we try to do this matchmaking. So if someone comes to me, yeah, we have all this wood, do you want it? There are days I would say, yeah, no, we have enough wood in stock, and no one is using wood for the moment, which is very improbable, but imagine. Um, and sometimes it's like, yeah, wood, I know immediately which organization could use this. Um, yeah, but that's a thing we're going to develop further. To There is no real software behind how to analyze all these requests and all to keep it organized, because now there's a lot of things in my head and in my mailbox, but we're working on making this more fluently, and maybe one day making it without the need of a person, having like a big wall where people can put their requests, like old school, but yeah, within Brussels.
It's almost the equivalent of like Gumtree, eBay. You know, those sorts of shopping platforms would make things sort of quite, as a basis, would make things easy. I mean, in terms of creating your infrastructure for people to easily access what you've gotten.
Yeah, but it's not so easy to create a well functioning platform, because if you look at like sometimes you need this critical mass of people using the platform for it to work, and like 500 organizations is a lot. But if you look from the perspective of someone wanting to get rid of something, often it's like, I need to get rid of this now, and someone needs to get it today. That's often the case. Like, I don't want it as soon as possible, it has to leave. With 500 people who could be potential takers, it's not a lot. It's you have to get lucky to just have the right person on the right time looking at this information. If you put it on Facebook, there will be immediately someone ready to come and get it. So this is the difficulty of like, how do we make something that also works, that people uh, that responds to the demands of people. And 500 is already better, but yeah, we're still developing it and making it more user friendly, because yeah, web dev is not one of my specialties, but it's really needed in what we're doing actually. So yeah.
So so you do the matchmaking. You were just saying about someone saying, I want you to collect this item today, and finding someone to pick it up. But if I understand correctly, you also have a warehouse as well, and I guess that also has its constraints in terms of the amount of things you can collect in there and store in there. how do you make that balance between, okay, we need this in?
Yeah, if you look at the problem, it's that's now we come to the logistical problem. How do you manage this to get the right material to the right person in the right time? Often the match between I need it and I want to give it does not happen on the same time. So ideally, you would say, this person is interested, they will come to get it, and I don't touch this, I don't even see the thing in real life. But that often happens, but often it does not happen either. For example, also when you think about, it's not one thing you want to give away. Often when you want to give stuff away, it's like because you clean up and you end up with like 20 things to give away, or you're renovating your your I don't know, your opera house or your theater, and then it's suddenly 50 things you want to give away, and then it's not easy to do the logistics. Like, will there be someone at the door always organizing? You're the one coming for the curtains. I don't know. Where are the curtains? Yeah, and then that's a difficult logistical problem. So what we came up was to have an in between, and that's where the name in limbo also refers to this in between, not knowing what the destiny is, but we have this place where we go pick it up, or people can come bring it, and then other people manage it there. And so that's this whole logistical part we do. But if people ask us, can you pick it up today? We often say no. We cannot just pick it up today. That's um, we don't have the means to do this. So we do once every 2 weeks. We do a pickup, and we drive around Brussels with a van we rent, and we go pick stuff up. Yeah, and so we pick up, and every Wednesday we're open. So that's an important thing. We have a recurrency in our opening hours. Every Wednesday we are open for public to have their material needs done.
I love the work, because you said, I think it was actually in our little pre chat before we started recording. It's a very small team in Limbo, isn't it?
It's a very small team for the moment. So technically, I work for Toestand. I'm on the payroll of Toestand. This is a project also that Toestand wants to realize. So it's the la volonté, the will of Toestand to have this project, because for the moment there is no real funding for this project. We had some funding for different specific parts of the project, but for the moment there is no structural funding to have this running. So I'm on the payroll of Toestand with some leftovers right in there. So I'm 4/5, I don't know how you say it, 80% employed on this project. And so that's me on this project. This is my main focus. But I can also use the help of the graphical designer and the communication person of Toestand. I also have HR that's done by the person of Toestand, which is a huge part of. If you have to multitask those things, it's a much. So I can really rest on those people. So I would say there's one full-time person employed on the project in Limbo.
And then in terms of the financial structure of in Limbo, do people uh, do people pay for? They don't pay for the stuff that they're receiving. Is that they do?
Uh,
Right.
yes,
I
they
see.
pay for the stuff they're receiving. Yeah,
Right.
so it's a free contribution, and so depending, a free contribution is always depending on what their means are, and we try as much as possible to be clear on what the cost is, and also who other organizations are, and that they realize who they are in this whole. Are they? It's a difficult question discussion on what are your means compared to other users, and but yeah, it's an open discussion. There's not, if people ask me what would you give, it's always hard for me. I always say, like, I could give you the shop price, but it's not a reference. um, if something weighs like 200 kilo and I moved it, and it has not a lot of value, and something is very light and I moved it, for me it's me moving it, that's the work. It's not about the material value of the object per se.
Yeah.
Um, so having, I didn't. We never pay for material when we reclaim stuff. We will never pay for something. maybe we do transports, but we will never pay the owner of the material for what they're giving. Then we have a whole discussion on prix libre, this free contribution. What does it mean? So this is a part of the income. Sometimes it's also the giver who pays. If you more and more we see that the trash and waste is costing more and more money. We used to throw everything in landfills and stuff. Now it's more about reusing materials, recycling, but the prices go up. So sometimes people also pay us to get rid of their materials, even if they still have use. Often this is also to support our organization, because materials we reclaim, other people might also be interested in. If you put it on Facebook, no, they try to also support us. So our partners mostly sometimes pay for something, like VUB, the Free University of Brussels, the Dutch one. All their furniture, they want to get rid of it, but it's still in good state. So we're doing it every 2 weeks. We go there, pick some things up from their basement, and so they want to pay us for something like this, knowing that putting it in the container would also cost something. So actually we help both sides. We help people receiving, and we help people giving materials with what we're doing.
Given that circular economy is a priority of any government, particularly Brussels region, I'm actually surprised that there is no public funding for this. Given why do you think that is, or what's your relationship with them?
It's not a bad rule. Never be public funding. It's just now there is no funding. You also have to know, but it's more technical. If you want to have circular economy, we're not under circular economy because we don't ask enough money to be like rentable, to be profitable. If you want to be profitable within reclaiming materials, they already exist. Rotor exists, Batiter exists. All these companies struggling and trying to make money already exist. What are we gonna do having the same business model? Our project is it's social on top of it. So it's trying to make money is, I think, not possible. So will always be a need for some funding, but the funding can also come from the partners. For example, we're thinking about if every partner would like give 40 euros a year. Actually, we're already kind of good for my salary, for example. So these are options we are like looking at, and circular economy, they help you with funding for like startup, but they will not structurally fund circular economy. The goal of circular economy is to be self-sufficient at a certain point.
You personally make a very good case for centralized funding, because I just sat here, having been introduced to in Limbo this morning, thinking about where you sit, what comparisons there are already in the theatre industry, but also in sort of this social sphere. And it seems that it's actually quite a human, almost complex business model, because you're sort of bordering socio, cultural, and not for profit, but obviously you've got to cover costs and stuff. You've got logistical things. If someone gives you 2 tons of wood, you've got to transport that, so it costs money. And you are sat there thinking, right, well, like you explained earlier on, your costs seem to be almost like means tested. So it's someone comes to you and says, a school, an arts organisation with not a huge amount of funding comes to you and says, I need to build a set. You've got a load of wood. Can I have your wood? And you go, okay, yeah. Let's talk about how we get there. There's a logistical cost. Also, you're a company of this size. I can give it to you for that. That's incredibly. It's brilliant. It's a really wonderful way of thinking about it in an age where everything's sort of app based and spreadsheet based, and in goes the information, out comes the cost. If you've got the money, you can do it. If you haven't, you can't, which is a shame. So, but I can almost see that maybe it might be quite difficult to explain your case to big funders, to people in offices, because you'd actually need to sit down with them and be like, well, this is how we work. And yes, I know it's a bit complex and a bit people based, but that's kind of who you are.
Yeah. Also, the question could be, where could the money come from? Because is it like we do a job that's very useful for the waste industry, so we reduce the amount of waste. So should it come from waste management of the city? Is it a waste project, or is it a cultural project? Do we support organizations? So do we support culture? Yeah. So that's. Or should it come from private donors, or how should we finance this? It's not so clear. Also, if you ask for cultural subsidies in Brussels, it's difficult because we have two different communities, two different cultural governments in Brussels. So that's an extra step to overcome if you want to get funding. Because we're a bilingual project, we really unite the Dutch and the French cultural scene in Brussels. Yeah. So, but in Belgium, in Brussels, this is not so easy to realize. Bilingual project.
I've Ed's explained some of the administrative hurdles that you guys have to go over, and it's incredible.
Now think about it, Sam. If you're not one of these languages, that makes it even more difficult for us.
Yeah, often we tend to just how do you say, to use English, and this is a real pity that for communication it's so much easier to just start to communicate in Limbo in English. But no, we will not do this. We will continue to do it in Dutch, French, and some important news in English. But you need a communication person that speaks Dutch, French, and English. But English is not really a problem. But have a bilingual team. If you have someone on the counter, you need someone who is bilingual. If you have someone going to partners, yeah, it could be a Dutch or French partner. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's a city with the two communities, so there are a lot of people being bilingual, but you need to get them. Yeah.
The more I hear about it, the more the name in Limbo is just absolutely bang on the money for this project. Like all the stuff that you receive is in Limbo. You yourself are in Limbo, and then the way that you communicate and the way you sit in the world is like in Limbo as well. So cool.
Maybe it's also interesting when we talk about the cost of this project. So we are also very linked to toestand, this use of empty spaces, and so now we're gonna move, actually, because our previous space was the temporary occupation was over. So we try to use temporary occupation. If you look at all the empty buildings in Brussels, we need a lot of space for this storage in Limbo. So we try to, as much as possible, use empty spaces. For the moment, we're temporarily, but in the long run, if one day we have funding, we might try to look for a permanent place, because we want to. It's always difficult to have something that moves around if it's a project that continues, especially if it's something you want to get in the routine of a city. One day we want to be the place for like reclaiming materials within the sector. If it's something that always moves around, it's difficult to be within the routine of how people think about materials. Yeah, but now we reduce the costs a lot by not paying for a building. So the new place we go to, we don't get money for maintaining their building, but we don't have to pay anything either. It's an old garage that will be a crèche one day, a kindergarten. Um, So yeah, the city allowed us to use this empty space.
Great to hear. And maybe just finally, perhaps just to look a bit further into the future, how do you see the development of In Limbo? You talked a little bit about potentially automatizing things. Where is In Limbo going?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I'm now like realizing some decisions my predecessors, the people before me, did are like not coherent, and I try to find coherence in this project. So I think one of the future big things is we're gonna redo the whole website. It's a whole website we built already, but it has something is missing. So this will be really for going more towards the what you said, the websites to look for things, Craigslist, eBay, kind of more this vibe, because now the website is built on the logic of stock management, and you have to. It's very technical, but in our website today, everything has a name, and it's also because we have multiple languages. If you put chair, you can translate it easily, because you have a certain list of things you have to translate. But the reality is we claim anything. It could be I don't know, a chair for a kruk. How do you say a small chair? Like a round
Stool.
Stool.
a stool. Yeah. So that's not a chair, but that's very close. It's still similar. But then you have a bench. Then you have so. And if you, it does not function. You can have like this storage, this logistical thing. If you have a shop where you sell 1,000 things and that's it. But what we can give, it's like whatever you can think of. Always when we get new material, it's we think about, could some organization use this? It's not for our own benefit. Normally, if you reclaim something, you have a project with it, but our project is for someone else. So someone shows us a stool, and then I have to look at like, could a school, could a theater company, could a collective use this stool? And I'm like, I'll take it. But it's on the spot. We have to think about all these partners that might use it. Sometimes you take something and you it's like, this will be difficult, but I'll take it. And the day afterwards, it's gone. And sometimes you think like, wow, this is super good, nice, thank you, I'll take it gladly. And 3 months later, you still see it lying around in the stock, and you're like, why does no one wants this? This is so nice. So it also always depends on what people need, and it's very hard to define.
I just stalking your website, and I see you've got looking down in the catalog. You've got a caravan, like a static home.
Which one? Because we have multiple, I think, for the moment.
Amazing.
No, there was one more on the countryside and one alone. I don't know. I have to check on the website.
Out in the country, it's amazing. I love it.
But that's, for example, the things you see on the website are not per se in our stock. They are at the partner's place. So that's to avoid transport. If it's for me to transport it to my place, that somebody comes to get it at my place, that's one transport too much. So
that's a lot of money. Yeah.
We also have a baraque friture. I don't know if you say it, like a French fry place. I don't know. It's still on the website because we gave it away like two days ago.
Is it like a sort of burger van?
Yeah, but like a big one. A static one.
Amazing.
It's an amazing collection of stuff.
Sam, thank you so much for giving us a little insight into In Limbo. It's been fascinating, and we wish you all the best with it. I think it's a fantastic project, and I hope that you continue to grow with it.
Cool. Thanks for having me, and come around if you need some stuff.